Hi there, I'm Stephanie Rao, spiritual coach and founder of Paradigm Expansions. I recently received the question from one of my clients who is in that difficult space of reconciling if she still wants to stay with her partner or not. And she got to the point after a few years of not really speaking up because of fear of her desires somehow hurting her partner. She got to the point of finally speaking up, which is a very vulnerable place to be, and had the question of, now what? And specifically, how do I balance speaking up for my needs when I know or I'm afraid that this could hurt them? So I'm going to answer this in two parts here. The first part is the now what do I do in that waiting period? And the main answer is to not do much. You want to be very patient and easy with yourself. Of course, you want to be consistent and continue to speak up, but the goal when you're first speaking up isn't to see change or immediate action from your partner right away. It may be that if you've been in a pattern for years and you're now trying to change it, it's going to be difficult for both of you. And you want to be patient with yourself, with feeling vulnerable, and you also want to be patient with them and give them some time to adjust to what you're saying. As you do that, you do need to focus on some sort of outcome that's going to allow you to continue to be honest. And because I'm telling you not to focus too much right away on what their actions are in that short, acute space of, I just told them, are they going to make a change right away? If not, maybe that's a sign. You don't want to be in that anxious spot. Instead, you want to focus on that feeling of how cleansing it is to be honest. Even though it's uncomfortable, there is something in your spirit that sings, that flies, that is free when you tell your truth. So you want to meditate on and reinforce that feeling. It's almost like you're making a promise to yourself not to ignore or neglect your heart anymore. And that feeling, that reconnection will give you momentum to continue to be in that uncomfortable space of being honest, where there may be a little more conflict. And the reason you weren't honest before is probably to avoid conflict and to protect your partner. And now you're creating conflict and you're making it difficult for your partner. So those are two things you've been trying to avoid for a long time. And again, in order to not get overly focused on the anxiety of what that feels like, you want to focus on your heart and that sense of freedom with being honest. Second, you want to reconcile this idea that it's your responsibility not to hurt your partner. There is a sacredness to marriage. There's a sacredness to any relationship when you choose to love someone. And yet, it's important that in loving someone, you're not harming yourself. And this is what I see all the time. This is what I experienced. This is what I feel I was taught, and that many other, especially women or those that identify with their feminine nature, were taught that we were meant to serve and that it was valuable to serve others, to sacrifice our own desires and needs in service of others. This was very pleasantly looked on. This was encouraged. And I can tell you that from my own experience, from my own training in academia, and from my observation of working with my students, that especially for a nurturer's heart to deny themselves, this does lead to destruction of everyone in the long term. It's almost like that archetype of the mom who slowly loses her soul and becomes a shell and becomes just a body moving around and cleaning up after people and taking care of their needs, but doesn't really have any desires or opinions of her own. This is not the goal. This is not why we are here to live. And this is not the way that you can best serve the world. You will be of most service to those you love when you are alive and tapped in and vibrant. And the way that you do that is by knowing that you are your first responsibility. To take care of yourself is the first responsibility that you were given, and that honoring that it is more sacred than taking care of another being, because you're the one who has the most intimacy with yourself. So this idea that it's good to put others before you in ways that harm you is very backwards. And I will say, service is a beautiful thing. It's wonderful to serve others when you can give from the overflow. And so, especially for empaths or those leaning into their feminine nature, we hear that, oh, we were meant to serve and deny our own needs, and we really internalize it destructively. And it does not work out in the long run for you or anyone else. So, really, this idea of give from the overflow, this is what is going to allow you to be vibrant and loving and open and joyful. So let's summarize, because we went down in depth with 2 points here. So when you get to the point of finally speaking up and now what, you are doing 2 things. You're separating the idea that it's your responsibility to care for your partner's self-esteem. Ultimately, it's their responsibility to feel good about themselves, and it's your responsibility to make sure that you are okay. So you don't want to get in a pattern of putting their needs before yours. So if that fear comes up of, I don't want to speak up because I don't want to hurt them, then you are in a bad spot of feeling like you're responsible. So again, that second piece is you want to separate that it's your responsibility to care for them. No, it's your responsibility to care for you. Okay? That's the second part. And the first part was really, as you speak up, tune in to that feeling of honesty, of what that does for your spirit, for your soul, for your heart, so that you can keep up the momentum with continuing to compassionately, kindly speak your truth. Thank you for listening. For more support, check out links in the description, specifically courses and one-on-one calls for paradigm expansions. This is a tough place to be, and I am here if you need more one-on-one. Sending compassion to you and peace. You got this.